In this video, we are going to talk about a circle touching the y-axis, but we shall use an example to talk about it. So let's begin. A circle of radius 3 in the first quadrant touches the y-axis of the line x plus 2y minus 8 is equal to 0. Find the equation of the circle. Now, to be able to find the equation of the circle, you need to know the radius and then the center, the coordinate of the center, to be able to find the the equation of the circle. So here, what you do is that you have to first draw. You have to draw to give you a pictorial view of what the question is all about. So we draw, and then we have this. It's in the first quadrant. If you draw the Cartesian plane, this is the second quadrant, the third, and then the fourth. So this is the first quadrant. So we are to introduce our circle in the first. We are to introduce our circle in the first quadrant. So here the circle touches the x-axis at this point, and then we have our radius. Also, we have our radius to be 3. The radius is 3, and then this is the point that it touches the y-axis. So let's label this point A, and let's label the center C. So the center has coordinate 3 and then B. Now, anytime a circle touches the y-axis, the x coordinate of the center becomes the radius, because here you realize that the radius can be traced down to 3. The radius can be traced down, so actually the radius was obtained from the x coordinate of the center. So we have the x coordinate of the center, we know the radius, but then we don't know the y coordinate. So how do we get that? We can get that from the line that was given. So we know that a line was drawn, or a line passed through this point. It's not perfect, but a straight line passes through let's assume this way. So here what happens is that, how do we get the y-intercept and then the x-intercept? We can get this by substituting the value 0 into the two variables. So let's say we want to find the y-intercept. We make x equal to 0, and if x equal to 0, then we have the equation to be 0 plus of 2y minus 8 is equal to 0. So here we have 2y is equal to 8, and therefore we divide both sides, and then we have by 2, then we have y is equal to 4. So that's y-intercept. That's the y-intercept. And then also, to get the x-intercept, what you need to do is that you have to put y equal to 0. So what we do here is that we have our x plus 2 into bracket 0 minus 8 is equal to 0. So we have x is equal to 8. So that's for the x-intercept. So with this, we can now calculate the coordinates for y. So here we have the point to be 0 and then 4 for point A, and then also we have this point to, let's label this point Z. We have this point, let's label this point Z. So this point also has, or this point L, this point also has 8, 0 for that point. So how do we get the y-intercept? It's very simple. We have to use the length formula. So we can get AC, we can get the length of AC. So AC will be equal to the square root of, now we have x, so we know the coordinate for C and then the coordinate for A. So 3, and then for A the coordinate for x was 0, so minus 0 squared, then plus of, also we have B minus, also the coordinate for y here, the y-intercept is 4, so we have 4, and this equals to, this gives us 3 squared plus of, into bracket, b minus 4 squared. So but we know that AC, from A to C the distance is 3, so we can, that's the radius, and you put that there. So to be able to clear the square root sign, we have to square both sides of the equation. Then we have 9 is equal to 9, that's 3 squared plus of, into bracket, b minus 4 squared. So to get space, I clean the board, then we move on. So here we have 9, we have 9 is equal to 9 plus, into bracket, b minus 4 squared. So here this and that cancel, so we have 0 is equal to, into bracket, b minus 4 squared. Therefore we have b to be equal to 4. Now this is how we got b to be 4. Now this here, 4b minus 4 squared, is basically an equal root. You understand? It's an equal root. So what you can do is that just take the square root of this side and then also the square root of 0. So this one becomes b minus 4 is equal to, root of 0 is 0. Therefore b is equal to 4. So we have our b to be 4. So once we have our b to be 4, then the equation of the circle can now be written, because we know the coordinate of the center, and then also we know the radius of the center. So we can actually write the equation. So from our knowledge of the equation, r squared is equal to, into bracket, we have our x minus a, into bracket, squared, plus of, into bracket, y minus b squared. So this is the standard equation of a circle. So here what we know is that we know our r to be 3 squared, and then we know our x. We don't know s, but we know the center. So a here represents the first one, that is, so our center is a comma b. So let that be the center. Because we have c to be 3 and then b, the coordinate of y to be b. So here we know a is 3, so negative 3 all squared, then plus of, we know y, then we know negative 4 all squared. Now when this is expanded, we have 9 squared is equal to x squared minus 6x plus of 9 plus y squared, this is 4, so plus y squared minus 8y, then plus of 16 plus of 16. So this basically becomes the equation of the circle, but then you have to write it in the standard form. So writing this or simplifying it further, we have our final equation. To be x squared plus y squared minus 8x minus 6y plus 16 is equal to 0. So this becomes our equation of the circle. Thank you very much, and let's meet in the next video. Bye.